Hey, what's going on this evening, guys? I have the DF64E and I wanted to do another experiment for you guys. I've gotten a couple questions about the range on this DF64E. It's a little bit different than the traditional DF64. The traditional DF64, it has markings on it for espresso and filter coffee, so you have pretty much a multi-purpose grinder with a fairly wide range. Tonight I have my Kruve sifter. And I've already done a little bit of playing around because I didn't want to make it a really long, boring video. And I also have this Kruve size reference guide. And I want to point out a few things. So if you look at the espresso range, it's from 200 microns up to about 600. And if we look at pour over, the pour over starts at about 600 and goes up to almost 1300. So I want to see what the range is on this DF64, and to start off with, I have two screens in the sifter, and I started out at the 800, and the next level down is the 700. Not the most scientific way of doing this. I guess I need to snap this in a little better. Traditionally, when I use my Kruve, I actually set my upper limit and my lower limit for like a pour over. That way I get all the boulders out and I get all the fines out and I get that nice middle of the road ground that I'm looking for. But tonight I'm going to use these sifters to try to show you about the usable range of this grinder. So the upper level is 800, the bottom level is 700, and then after we do that, we're going to go down finer. So to start things off, I've actually purged this grinder, cleaned it out, made sure that there's no fines in it, used the bellows, and I set it up all the way to max. So you don't want to adjust it while it's not running, but over here it's 0, over here it's 60. And I have it set on 60, it's as far over as it can go. And we're going to, doesn't even matter how much, we're just going to grind some. And as you can tell, it's kind of a nice fluffy, maybe slightly coarse espresso ground. So I'm going to reposition my camera and I'm going to do it from the top down just so that you guys can see as it sifts through about how much goes through. And then once we do these first two screens, we're going to go two finer and so on. So let me get repositioned. Okay, we're set up for our little experiment and I have it at an angle that you guys can see. If you don't remember, the top layer I have set at 800 and the next layer down I have set at 700 for the time being. And this grinder has been purged, so this is set on the largest setting. And to do a quick reminder, 800 is above the threshold that's really going to be usable for espresso, but not by very much. And then 700, upper level of 600 right at 700 is pretty much the upper level of espresso. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to pour these grounds in here, and we're not going to go real scientific, so if we lose some, that's fine. I just want to show you kind of the particle range that it's going to be capable of doing, and if it's going to be a really useful machine for like pour over. So this sifter from Kruve, it takes a minute to sift through, especially on these finer screens. But right there, we're pretty much at our limit of 800. So these are all the particles too big to fit through that 800. And then the next level down is 700. Looks like there's some fine stuck on the side, but we're going to go through. And again, there's 700. So what's left after all that? You got quite a bit of grounds left. So this is 800, Let me move my camera. 800, 700, and less than 700. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch it to a 600 and a 500 screen. Now remember, this is on our coarsest setting, so it's not looking very promising for drip and stuff, because if we look at drip, let's see, drip, it starts at about 500, but I mean, if this is all you're getting is just like little amounts and the majority of it's going to be considerably finer, it's probably not going to be an ideal grinder for drip and some of these other methods. It's really made for this range of espresso. So I'm actually going to throw these out because we don't need to sift those again. I'm going to change the screens and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back with the next layer of screens. We did the 800 and 700 previously, so now we're doing 600 and 500. And I went ahead and threw away all the 7 and 800 because all of it was going to get trapped on the 600 screen, and I don't really want it to skew some of the results that we're looking at. So put it all back into the dosing cup out of the bottom tray, and we're going to sift it again. So let's give it a try. It's probably going to take a little bit longer as we go finer, but we're also getting closer to the average particle size that we're looking for here. Okay, on this one, so to zoom in, we're at 600, and these are the particles that aren't going to go through the 600. And as you can tell, we're getting quite a few more rounds. And if we set that to the side, let's put the bottle on. This is the 500 screen, and I would say that it looks like the majority of the 500 has been sifted through. So there's quite a few grounds there, and if we put that off to the side, yet again, there's some of our finds. So let's do 2 more screens. Let's do a 400 and a 300, and I probably won't go down to the 200 just because it is so fine and really clogs up. But these are the majority of the grounds that you'll be using for espresso. And yet again, it's falling right in that nice espresso range that we're looking for. So let me change the screens one more time and let's do one more sifting. Okay, the last part of this experiment, we're going to look at the 400 and 300 levels. And yet again, I've thrown away all the grounds from the layers above because they get trapped on this top layer, and it'd show like there's quite a bit of grounds at the 400 level, even though they're actually 500 and larger. So that's all that we have left, very little, and we're going to sift it best that we can. And these extremely fine screens just really take a long time if you're really gonna get everything out of them. And this is probably about where we're at. Flip this around. So that's about the particle size of 400. And then now you can tell we're really getting into the fines. There's not that many fines. And this is 300. So there are some that are going to be a little bit smaller than 300, but I mean, we're talking a dusting in the bottom of this tray. So almost nothing's getting through. Give another little shake. Yeah, again. So on the largest setting, we're really not getting anything smaller than 300. It looks like 300 is about as fine as it goes on this largest setting. Now granted, this grinder goes considerably finer, and really what you're doing is you're tuning the center mark of that curve right where you want your espresso at. So really, to answer this question, is this a good grinder for an all-purpose grinder? And my answer is going to be no. It's really not. If you're going to do the extractions according to really what works for the different types of methods, it's really not made for that. And is that really a big deal? I would say not, because we have other grinders that are pretty much dedicated to espresso machines. Like I have this K30 right here. I have an Atom 75 upstairs. I know people have used it for pour over. I don't really recommend it. I have a Super Jolly. You can probably use it for pour over. I don't really recommend it. So if you're wanting a grinder that's multi-purpose, I'd say one of these two from Turin is probably your better bet. This is the conical SD40, and then this is the traditional DF64, and it's going to give you a much wider range. Now, why would you want this DF64E? You're wanting a dedicated espresso grinder. I mean, it's as simple as that. I really enjoy having a dedicated espresso grinder and a dedicated drip grinder. And right now I've been using this SD40 as my dedicated drip grinder for the most part. I have a white DF64 that actually has lab sweet burrs in it right now, and I have all the SSP burrs, so I enjoy the different flavors from the different burrs. And at some point I'm not sure if I'm gonna put the espresso burrs or the unimodal burrs into the DF64E. I kind of want to go unimodal because I think it's going to offer something that's a little bit different and a really nice package with the electronic dosing. You can still use a bellow if you want, so you can do the single dose. It's not a big deal. Pretty cool grinder. But yet again, this is on the highest setting, and really the upper level that we were looking at is above that 600 mark, and we are barely getting any particles above 600. So really not made for drip if that's what you're looking. I made a big deal that this DF64E is only an espresso grinder, but I guess that's not totally true, so let me take a step back. This grinder can be opened up and it can be recalibrated. Now, it's not going to be something that you're going to want to do all the time, like when you're switching between brew methods such as your Chemex or V60 and espresso. So what you're going to want to do is probably pick one or the other and calibrate it for that. And how you do that, I need to do another video on it, but you're going to remove this bottom piece, and I believe this second piece. I haven't tried it quite yet. I did the disassembly and looked into it, but I need to figure that out because I'm planning to put these SSP burrs in. But I've made a big deal about how this is just for espresso. Well, that's not totally true, but in my opinion, it's going to be just for drip or just for espresso because of how you calibrate it. You might be able to find a sweet spot that works for both. Potentially, if you calibrated it just a little bit coarser, you're going to get the espresso range. You might be able to get like a really fine AeroPress range, but if you're looking for quite coarse, I don't think you're going to get the full range out of this. So again, this DF64E was sponsored by espressooutlet.net. Go to his website, check him out. He has them on pre-order. He also has DF64s. I talked to him today. He probably has about 80 left on the pre-order shipment, and these Turin SD40s, they're a really cool grinder. They're really small, and I don't know how many of those he has. I saw Lance just did a video on it, and he seems to like it. It's a really cool little grinder, especially for the price. If you're looking for a second grinder, so like for example, keep this for your espresso and pick up one of these on the side, use that for your drip. I think you'll love it. I think you'll love that combo. And I'd like to thank Kruve. They sent me a set of sifters. I'm going to try not to drop all these. Full set of screens starting at 200 and going up to 1600 microns. So really nice to have those. I use these quite a bit when I do pour overs to get rid of some of the fines and some of the boulders. It comes with a nice magnet. I keep this handy. I've shown it throughout the video. It's pretty cool. And the bruiser came with it, which I wasn't too sure about. I mean, you can't really sift it, but I've actually used it quite a bit. It's really nice for some of your larger sizes, like bean sizes, and then you can kind of just rub the grounds through and get a pretty good idea of where you're at. So I've actually used this bruiser quite a bit. They sent me some of their awesome espresso cups. They're upstairs right now, and one of their stir sticks, and I have used that stir stick more than I really thought I would. They're only like $10, $12, so if you're over at Kruve, I'd recommend picking one of those up. I think they have a more basic set that goes about every other screen for about $100. I haven't looked in a while, but I've really enjoyed the set. It's really been something nice to add to my espresso gear and my coffee gear. So thanks for watching. I'll probably do either a calibration video next or putting the SSP burrs in next, and they kind of go hand in hand, so it might end up being the same video. But make sure to subscribe. Let me know if there's anything else that you're wanting to see on this. Thanks for watching.